This is just going to be a talking video covering what went on with the Century Arms Centurion BP-12. I got a little bit of time here. I'm hauling some stuff to California, so I'll go ahead and kind of cover what went on and why I deleted probably 3 or 4 videos that followed my second replacement from Century Arms. I realized my first 3 videos on the channel are like the disassembly and highlight of kind of the wear and tear that the shotgun endured during my break-in period and subsequent, additional rounds. First and foremost, Century Arms is the importer, so the only thing I can really hang on them is they didn't do enough field testing. That being said, the manufacturer of the BP-12 is Alder Arms, which is a airsoft company, which drastically explains the issue with poor metallurgy, poor design, incorrect manual, descriptions and things like that. Basically, I had my first one fully replaced from Century, and then I followed to the T the break-in period that Century Arms suggests when you get the shotgun. Basically, they want you to run a variety of loads, both heavy and light, up to 300 rounds with the light gas piston. And after that, then they suggest, because the spring is broken in and everything like that, to then start swapping the gas pistons back and forth to, better preserve the shotgun and get better reliability. So the first issue, we'll kind of talk a little bit about why you're always going to run into these problems with the Century Arms Centurion BP-12. Basically, the metallurgy is absolute dog shit with that shotgun. Very poor design in terms of the gas system, paired with metallurgy, paired with everything else. And again, I'm going slow because I'm hauling stuff, so that's why I'm stuck behind this guy, and I'm fine with it. Anyway, basically, after you run your 300 rounds or whatever, one of the first issues you run into is the Century Arms Centurion BP-12, which now at this point I'm just going to say BP-12 because we all know what I'm talking about. The issue you run into is it's not a field serviceable or range serviceable piston swap. What you have to essentially do is take out 3 fasteners from the pin system that holds it all together, and that consists of basically 3 fasteners and 3 tube connectors or nuts that you could easily lose when you're out there. So now you need a flathead screwdriver because there's no tools on the shotgun itself, despite the manual stating that you have like these G3 style of push pins. Secondly, you have to essentially take the entire shotgun apart in order to swap the gas piston. This means you take your entire bolt carrier out, you take the spring off, everything, and then you are finally able to swap the gas piston. And again, you're out in the field, so if you got carbon, you got grease, you got oil, or what have you, it's not readily serviceable. So this would mean that before you leave, you need to choose, well, am I going to shoot heavier light loads? And that would just be if this shotgun actually held up, but it doesn't. So the disassembly aside, and the swapping of gas pistons is heavily, I would say, restrictive. It's not practical at all. And then that leads you into the next point, is that the main downside with the BP-12 is the fact that the metallurgy is really shitty. They use either an aluminum or a cast like zinc, because I don't think it's steel. It might have been. I can't remember if I did the magnet test. But the guide pipe, which is the silver block, you know, for lack of a better term, behind the gas piston, it's like butter soft. And so the hot jet of gases that shoot out from underneath the piston eventually blow a hole in that part. Then you move a little bit further back. The guide, you know, chassis for the bolt, so basically the bolt carrier, is again a very, very soft steel. And then lastly, you have the rear, you know, basically the receiver, where the steel bolt digs into the aluminum receiver, and it doesn't just polish itself smooth. You are taking massive chunks out of that aluminum receiver that eventually will wear away to where there is no locking cutout for the bolt. So between those three issues, you're going to run into a couple of problems. The lockup's going to be an issue. In addition to that, eventually your guide pipe, that silver part behind the gas piston, is going to split in half. And then that gas is going to transfer to the bolt carrier system directly underneath that guide pipe rides on. And the second Century Arms BP-12 that I got, the brand new, I followed to the T the 300 break-in rounds, various rounds, and then I swapped the gas pistons over to the supposed heavy gas piston. And what ended up happening is the heavy gas piston is even lighter than the standard gas piston. So you actually have no recoil reduction, you have no aid in heavier, sorry about that, break real quick, heavier loads. There's no heavy spring, there's no heavier gas piston. It's basically just, sorry, this bitch keeps falling. It's basically the same exact gas piston. The difference being the standard gas piston has a metal ring on it, and the heavy gas piston, motherfucker, has a rubber O-ring that you install upon it. Again, makes no sense. The heavy gas piston should be twice the weight, at least. You know, because eventually as that spring, especially the 12 gauge, you know, recoil impulse is going to wear that spring down, you would want something that's going to last quite some time, right? And this would be in a perfect world where the gun, you know, held up over time, and that's just not the case. But what ended up happening is when I swapped it over to the heavy gas piston, I had the guide pipe completely blow out. Like the hole was probably twice or three times the diameter, almost cracking. The hot gases spilled down and actually split the bolt carrier at the front end. It scored the front half, like noticeably so, tactile. You could actually feel it. And then in addition to that, the gases cracked I don't think it's steel, I think it's aluminum, the gas piston itself. And so I had even more damage following their break-in period than I did the first round. So my first shotgun, I just used nothing but the light gas piston, the standard. So basically the standard gas piston had a little bit more mass to it. That slight weight increase provided more longevity to the system than the heavy gas piston, which is, it makes no sense. Again, poor metallurgy, poor design, and it's made by airsoft or pellet gun manufacturers. So of course they don't look into all of this stuff. They never field tested it. So I then sent in that second one to Century Arms and got it replaced, and I had my third brand new one. And at that point I was done. I was like, you know, fuck this shotgun, this is stupid. And I ended up selling it off to a pawn shop. I took a loss just because, like, you know, basically pawn shops are just going to sell it to the next guy. And yeah, you could say I could have just kept it and held on to it, but I wanted to get some money back, and then I utilized that money back from the pawn shop to purchase a 9mm 1911. So At that point, I was just done. I even told him, I said, hey man, this is the third shotgun I have. My last two had issues. I'm just done with it. But I had a shit ton of magazines, all brand new in box. I think I'll utilize like 2 of them or 3 of them, but I had like maybe a dozen. And so basically I included that, and because it looked like this massive package and they knew they could profit from, you know, not only the magazines, but the shotgun itself, they were more than happy to let me trade it in. But yeah, the shotgun was just raw dog shit. If you guys come across it, I know the price is tempting, but Turkish shotguns, a lot of them are manufactured in the same factories, despite there being slight differences. I really wanted to like the BP-12, but it's got a lot of things going against it. One, poor metallurgy, poor design, and then on top of that, even if all the upper portions held together, one of the downsides is that the lower, you know, chassis to the system, the entire fire control group is held in by plastic. So if the immense shock doesn't affect the upper at all, and let's say that all held together, eventually the housing for the, you know, return spring and everything like that for the trigger system is going to succumb to breakage. And once that breaks, it's a dead gun. There's no fixing it because it's all polymer. You can't modify it. It's what's there is there, and you know, it's basically going to bust itself apart, and then you would need a brand new lower chassis in order to utilize your upper again. So the whole system is just raw dog shit. So again, what I wanted to do, if the shotgun would have held up, is I was gonna keep track of specific rounds. I was gonna keep track of round counts. I was gonna, you know, basically take calipers and monitor everything, monitor, you know, the wear and tear, hoping that it would hold together, but it just wouldn't. You know, basically the whole shotgun is made with inferior metals. It's a shitty design. And, you know, no matter how tempting the price, this fucking phone, no matter how tempting the price, it's just not worth it. So even for $100, you have to realize that this shotgun is not going to last more than about 600 rounds of any high brass ammunition, such as, like, you know, slugs, buckshot, even really high brass target loads. That much pressure is just going to wear it down. And that's 2 separate shotguns that had immense wear under basically 500, 550 rounds. So it's never going to get better. In all honesty, I would offload it and move on to something else. And with my experience with Turkish shotguns, because I kicked that skunk 2 times if you don't count all the returns. I had another Panzer Arms bullpup shotgun, and same goddamn thing, but different wear in different areas. And at that point, I just swore off Turkish shotguns altogether. I can't advise anybody buys those because they're just not built that well. Now pistols might be a different story, but I don't have enough rounds downrange with my SAR pistols yet. So we'll see. You know, they seem to be well made. And I don't see any glaring issues as of yet, but you know, we'll keep hammering away on those 2 since my SAR 2000 is under warranty. After looking at my K245, I suspect it may have been ammo related. So I cranked the sight, you know, to compensate to get me more left shooting. I ended up finding a photo of the K245, and I had targets out to 20-25 yards, and they were fairly well centered. So I do suspect ammo ink does not get along well with the SAR K245 for some reason. So anyway, that aside, I just wanted to kind of mention why I deleted the 3 or 4 videos I had that followed up on the BP-12. I was just done with it. At that point in time, I was like, you know, fuck this, it's not worth investing. But I should have kept them because I would have been able to warn more people. I've noticed how many people have watched the disassembly videos, and I'm sure there's, you know, comments and stuff on there that are either like, you know, bitching about how I took it apart or bitching that it's a 3-part series or whatever. But all in all, I'm still just trying to convey you know, how to break it down and then what wear I saw. So, I mean, anybody that's bitching about that, I mean, you got to get a fucking life. But that's about it. Just like I say, wanted to explain kind of what was going on and why I deleted those videos that I had up for maybe a week or 2 weeks, and why I got out of the BP-12. All in all, I would avoid it like the plague. You know, spend that money on a pistol or another shotgun that's actually going to hold up. You know, sometimes you think that certain guns are guns that people are sleeping on and that are diamonds in the rough, but the BP-12 is not one of them. It is just absolute dog shit. So again, use your money wisely. It's not going to get better. It's just a giant piece of shit. So you should honestly sell it. It would be different if this was all just reliability related. The BP-12 ran really well. The problem is the metallurgy and the design, and it's going to beat itself apart and break no matter what you do. So unless you shoot maybe 20 rounds a year, you know, then it'll last you a couple of years. But you know, if you go out and you do 3-4 boxes of target loads and then a couple of boxes of high brass buckshot or slugs, I mean, dude, inside of 500 fucking rounds, the whole goddamn gun is going to break apart. So I strongly implore any owners of the BP-12 to disassemble their shotguns completely and monitor the wear, and then, you know, send them back to Century. It's bullshit that Century Arms didn't properly field test these things, because anybody with standard ammo can quickly see that these guns they don't last, you know, and they're just giant pieces of shit. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Again, this is just a talking video. I don't have any guns. I'm again driving to fucking communist California, so it's basically me just burning some time here and kind of updating everybody about the BP-12. Thank you for watching. I don't visit the channel often, but if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I'll try and get to them if I notice them, but otherwise, thank you for watching, and yeah, take care.